And today we are talking about how to quit the judgment. So many of us are stuck in our ways, stuck in our beliefs, and that might leave us stuck in life. How's it going, Judith?
Life is good. So good. And it's getting better every day.
Good, good, good. I know I feel the same way, especially working with you. And I think today's subject is really interesting. It's about judgment and letting go of that. What exactly do you mean?
Well, think of it this way. When you have a judgment, you've just closed the gates. Nothing can get through the gates. That means nothing good, nothing bad. You've made a judgment. That's the way it is. You've made a conclusion. Boom, you're done.
So give me some examples of how, maybe with clients that you've worked with in the past, some examples of people that are like dead set in their judgment, they're dug in their heels, and how changing that and letting go of that has released them in life.
Oh, well, if you have judgment, then it pulls you together and squishes you, literally squishes you. And you're like, oh, and it has to be this way. And well, just think of all the judgment in the country right now.
Yeah.
There is a tremendous amount of judgment. And that everybody is fearful. And so to be fearful, I'm like, oh no, I'm afraid of you. I'm going to judge you because I have to know if I'm safe.
That is true. I mean, some people don't even act themselves because they're so afraid of being judged.
Right. So if you just go, wow, that's an interesting point of view. Tell me more. And you're not ready to attack the person because they have a different point of view, but you're willing to go, wow, isn't that interesting? You pay attention to all of this tension just falls away. And then you're able to maintain a high vibe. And when you have a fixed point of view, then you think this is the only way it is. But chances are it's not. There are so many different points of view. And if you have a judgment on something, all right, that's your reality. It doesn't have to be your neighbor's reality. Your neighbor can believe something else. And guess what? You can still coexist.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I think, there's no harm in maybe a healthy discussion or, having differing opinions. But when this judgment comes in and these like almost like leads to attack and of the low vibe, like you're no longer on a level playing field. You're just down in the pit fighting over something, and that's what it can lead to if you don't let go of the judgment.
Right. Now, here's an example. My dad was telling me that he was at dinner with like three other couples, and they started talking on a certain subject. And my dad is 92, so I imagine that this older gentleman in the couple was 80s, 90s, somewhere in there. His point of view was so judgmental that he was physically shaking, that he was so entrenched in this is the way it is, that he was like this. He could give himself a heart attack over that. Now, is that judgment worth actually dying?
No.
No, it's not at all.
And you
You
are
know,
right. When
much
you get
better.
too like hardcore on your stance, your whole body changes.
Yeah. And you go from high vibe, if you were there, and you're immediately slammed down into low vibe. Now, having a judgment does not mean that you're not discerning.
Mhm.
You can still choose not to do whatever it is. If you have a judgment, it's the gates are closed. If you're discerning, you're going, yeah, okay, I see that as an option, but I'm going to choose something else.
Right. And at the end of the day, it doesn't like you said, it doesn't matter. You can have your feelings
Yeah.
and your neighbor can have their feelings, or your friend or whomever. You don't have to be on the same page at all times with everybody. So just let it go.
Yeah. You're not going to change their opinion by being stubborn with your opinion.
But what if the other, if I say, I hate being judged. I try not to judge others because I hate being judged. I mean, I worry about it. Like it weighs on me. I'm like, I don't want to say this, or what did they think? Or did I, or, I kind of spend too much of my time worrying about what other people think about me. But if you are stuck in a place where you're feeling judged, how do you get out of it?
Realize that it's an opinion. And that's all. And everybody has an opinion. And you're just going, oh, okay. I don't need that opinion. And the judgment may be something that you want to pay attention to, and it may not. But as long as you're resisting being judged, then you're actually going to attract more judgment.
That's interesting. What about self-judgment?
Ah, yes, we're good with that.
Yeah. I'm really good with that one.
Okay. I'd like you to think of a time when something in your life was just so fabulous that it was like, oh my God, this is great. Have you got
Yeah,
something in mind?
I do.
Okay. Put that in one hand.
Okay.
In the other hand, you're being judged. The whole world is judging you, and they all find you lacking. Whatever you're lacking, you're lacking, you're lacking. Which one's
Okay.
heavier?
So obviously I would want to feel
No,
this way.
it's not obviously.
Okay.
Feel the weight of them. Which one feels heavier?
This feels heavier.
Yeah, all the judgment. So you pour the judgment into the good feeling. And then you take that really good feeling and pour it into the other hand. And then you pour it back and keep going. And you go back and forth. And you're going to do this until you feel a shift. The shift can feel like a big sigh. It can feel like just your chest expanded. It can be a cough. It doesn't have to be here. It's just sort of a, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden that judgment is like, yeah, okay. Because what
Yeah.
you've done is neutralized it. But you go to this experience that you love and you help it neutralize any judgments. And the more
And
you
I do
practice,
also really like that you pointed out that, people can be judgmental and you got to step back and decide whether you want to, I don't really need that in my life right now. Or maybe take it with a grain of salt. Like maybe the person, the way they're delivering their judgment is a little harsh. Maybe they're saying something that you can self-reflect on and pivot a little bit, but it doesn't have to destroy you.
true. Now, here I want to bring up one more thing. When you are talking with somebody else and you feel judgment coming on because of something that they're saying, a judgment is usually a statement, it's a conclusion. So, number one, don't offer an opinion unless they ask for it. And number two, if you feel this bubbling up inside of you and you have to say it, ask it with curiosity. Wow, have you thought of it this way? When my son was 4 years old, he was a master at this. And I would say no. And my judgment was no, it's not going to happen. You're not going to do this, whatever. And he would just very calmly say, well, have you thought of it this way? And then come at it from a different direction. And I'm like, yeah, okay, fine. You can do it. He's just got this gift about him.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I have one question before we sign off. This one's guy. I don't know. This happens like more than a year ago. It still sticks with me because I said, I hate when people get judgy on me. But I was leaving for work and this was still when I was waking up in the early morning hours and doing, early morning news, which was a great career. And there were these two ladies. I was coming home and they were walking in the neighborhood. And one of them looked at me and she goes, "Are you still doing that little job of yours?" And I'm like, "What?" I mean, I was like, I know that's meant to insult me and or judge me, but I didn't know what to say. And instead of like, I didn't say anything, like her friend's like, oh, and they kind of walked off. And I'm like, wow, that stuck like a knife, but it still replays in my head. Like, do you have any tips for people that just cannot seem to process those who judge them?
This is from my mother. She's been gone 27 years. It still sticks in my head. Kill them with kindness.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you would imagine the scenario now, imagine you walking up to these ladies, and instead of your eyes popping open like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
Sorry.
I was just going to say, well, all right. I was going to say to her, what I always wished I would have said is like, would you say that to a grown ass man? But I didn't. I wanted to say nobody would say that to a guy with a career,
Okay, let go of
but
it.
okay.
Okay,
So this is helping me.
replay it with the words that you wish you would have said. Like, yes, isn't it fantastic? You really should watch me. I'm having so much fun and I'm helping so many people and blah, 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 blah. And thank you so much for asking. And I really appreciate it. And I hope you have a terrific day.
That should have been that would have been the best answer ever. This is pre-Judith in my life, though, just so everybody knows. Now I'm like, I drive along or I'm on the phone. I'm like, what would Judith tell me to do right now? What would she advise? I wish I had known you back then. And I'm glad that you taught me that now, because maybe I can replay the scenario instead of sassy Gail, what she would have said, more kill him with kindness, Gail.
Yeah. When my kids were young, we had 3 houses in a row. The boys were all the same age. And we lived in house 1 and the boy in house 3 played together one day. Then all of a sudden, the mom in house 3 decided that her kid couldn't play with mine. And I'm like, I have no idea what this is about. And there was some judgment somewhere that she wasn't willing to look at. The boys couldn't play together anymore. And so I would ask her every time I saw her at school, what is this about? What did I do wrong? And she wouldn't tell me. This isn't the appropriate place. I'm not going to tell you, blah, 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 whatever. Turns out the father in house 3 was the soccer coach. And I decided that I was going to kill her with kindness. So every time I saw her, hey, how you doing? I'm so excited to see you. What's new? And I felt good. And, if she felt irritated or not, that was up to her. But I was feeling good. My reality was that I was kind.
Good. I love that. That's great. Well, it's been another great session with Judith Joy, and I appreciate that you let me like kind of dabble in the things that I'm dealing with along the way. It's helpful. I feel like we all learn from each other. So thank you so much, Judith.
Oh, you're quite welcome. Thank you.